I'm giving perfect praise to Allah and honor to the Prophet Drew Ali and honor to the Muslims all over the world. The salvation, Allah, unity, the Moorish Science Temple of America, the Divine Constitution and bylaws. Act 1. The Grand Sheikh and the Chairman of the Moorish Science Temple of America is empowered to make law and enforce law with the assistance of the Prophet and the Grand Body of the Moorish Science Temple of America. The Assistant Grand Sheikh is to assist the Grand Sheikh in all affairs if he lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and it is known before the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Act 2. All meetings are to be open and closed promptly according to Circle 7. And love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest, because on a Friday the first man was formed in flesh, and on a Friday the first man departed out of flesh and ascended unto his Father God Allah. For that cause, Friday is the holy day for all Muslims all over the world. Act 3. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced by all members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. No member is to put in danger or accuse falsely his brother or sister on any occasion at all that may harm his brother or sister, because Allah is love. Act 4. All members must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all members must obey the laws of the government, because by being a Moorish American, you are part and partial of the government and must live a life accordingly. Act 5. This organization of the Moorish Science Temple of America is not to cause any confusion or to overthrow the laws and constitution of the said government, but to obey hereby. Act 6. With us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are part and partial of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national names to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Jew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites, whom inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All members must promptly attend their meetings and become part and parcel of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Ali, through the guidance of his father, God Allah. Noble Ali, founder, Moorish American prayer, Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation by night and by day, through his holy prophet, Ali. Amen. The Moorish Science Temple of America. Home office of Noble Ali. Home office, Chicago, Illinois, USA. Islam, Islam, Islamism. Peace and love.
Islam, gratitude, brother. All right, brother Cole Bay, would you please read the writ to the prophet?
Islam. I rise to give honors to the great God Allah. Rise to give honors to the Prophet Noble Jew Ali. Rise to give honors to the forerunner Marcus Messiah Garvey. Rise to give honors to all the Moors on the meeting. Rise to give honors to all the Moors on the planet. To be proclaimed at every meeting. Islam. I am glad to know I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and I desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There is a host of jealousy about me and the movement now by the same people of our side of the nation that claim that I was a joke and unreal. But now, since they found out from the government officials and the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens, they are working every scheme that they can to disqualify me so they may take charge of the situation. I have notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors that attribute to the movement and uplifting funds, the ones that pay their divine respects to me and the movement will be remembered. That's why I'm calling upon all faithful Moors to increase your faithfulness to me, your prophet, and your divine Moorish movement. I need finance, and I need it badly. Never before have I needed finance so badly as I do at present, so I may shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes through jealousy because of my fame and nobility. The nations of the world will not recognize the movement without I, the prophet, being head. It has been proven by my works, which I have performed in the past few years. Prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Prophet warns all Muslims to be read in every meeting. I hereby inform all members they must end all radical speeches while at work, in their homes, and on the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing the cards of Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your cards for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be a severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. And when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members who hold malicious feelings towards the temple or the prophet or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement will receive their rewards from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the law laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their cardin button, cease wearing their turban and fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet Noble Drew Ali, and the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet therefore is sending out a divine plea to all Moorish Americans they do their part in protecting the prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Peace, Noble Drew Ali. To the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, Islam, this is instructions from your prophet Noble Drew Ali. Be faithful unto your forefather divine and national creed, that you will be blessed for your good deeds that you sow in the flesh. Allah is the one that judges the world, and his judgment is on now, but the weak comprehend it not. The end of times are drawing near, so says Allah to his divine prophet, I, Noble Drew Ali. And that is why many hearts have turned to stone. Many have eyes to see but cannot see, ears to hear but cannot hear, lest they will be confounded of their sins. These are the trying hours now, dear Moors, and every evil spirit is moving, and they are trying every weak mind to overthrow and drag out the true foundation that has been laid, and to cause confusion in the minds of the ones that do believe. But if you have the true love of Allah and the spirit of your forefathers, you fear not what you hear or see, but will sacrifice the utmost of your very life to protect your movement and your prophet. Watch your enemies, dear Moors. Your enemies are the ones that speak against your prophet and ridicule him to the very lowest, and the ones that speak against your divine and national principles of your temples. Act accordingly, and Allah will bless you for your good work. Peace. Your divine prophet, Noble Drew Ali. Islam, Islam, Islamism.
Islamism and gratitude, brother. All right. Before we go into the lesson today, we were going to be reading from the Koran questionnaire, going over the end of it, questions 91 through 101. But before we do that, I just want to read a piece from the Holy Quran, chapter 4, the death and burial of Elizabeth Matheno's lessons, the ministry of death. For those that don't know, Sister Tamika Gray L, she was a sheikess at Temple 12 in Toledo, made the transition just yesterday. All right. And, you know, when things like this happen, of course, from our point of view, it's sad. We miss the sister. We don't want people to leave, but we also must keep in mind, keep things in balance and know that there's a greater spiritual reality to things, and that death is not an enemy to man. Okay. And I did just want to read this. Go ahead and get started. Chapter 4. When John, and we're talking about John the Baptist, when John was 12 years old, his mother died, and neighbors laid her body in a tomb among her kindred in the Hebron burying ground and near the Zacharias tomb. And John was deeply grieved. He wept. Matheno said, "It is not well to weep because of death. Death is no enemy of man. It is a friend who, when the work of life is done, just cuts the cord that binds the human boat to earth, that it may sail on smoother seas. No language can describe a mother's worth, and yours was tried and true, but she was not called hence until her tasks were done. The cause of death are always for the best, for we are solving problems there as well as here, and one is sure to find himself where he can solve his problems best. It is but selfishness that makes one wish to call again to earth departed souls. Then let your mother rest in peace, Just let her noble life be strengthened and inspiration unto you. A crisis in your life has come, and you must have a clear conception of the work that you are called to do. The sages of all the ages call you harbinger. The prophets look to you and say, he is Elijah, come again. Your mission here is that of harbinger, for you will go before the Messiah's face to pave his way and make the people ready to receive their king. This readiness is purity of heart. None but the pure in heart can recognize the king. To teach men to be pure in heart, you must be pure in heart and word and deed. And I'll go ahead and finish this passage, but we just need to keep that in mind that you know, we, regardless of how things seem from our perspective, there's no accidents. You know, everything happens in due time. All right. Um, to teach men to be pure in heart, you must yourself be pure in heart and word and deed. In infancy, the vow for you was made, and you became a Nazarite. The razor shall not touch your face nor head, and you shall taste not wine nor fiery drinks. Men need a pattern for their lives. They love to follow, not to lead. The man who stands upon the corners and the paths and points the way but does not go is just a pointer, and a block of wood can do the same. The teacher treads the way on every span of ground. He leaves his footprints clearly cut, which all can see and be assured that he, their master, went that way. And men comprehend the inner life by what they see and do. They come to Allah through ceremonies and forms. And so when you make men know that sins are washed away by purity and life, a right symbolic may be introduced and water wash the bodies of the people who would turn away from sin and strive for purity in life. This rite of cleansing is a preparation rite, and they who thus are cleansed comprise the temple of purity. And you shall say, you men of Israel, hear, reform and wash, become the sons of purity, and you shall be forgiven. Excuse me. This rite of cleansing and this temple are but symbolic of the cleansing of the soul, which does not come from outward show, but is the temple within. Now, you may never point the way and tell the multitudes to do what you have never done. You must go before and show the way. You are to teach that men must wash, so you must lead the way. Your body must be washed, symbolic of the cleansing of the soul. And even for, in this case, John the Baptist, to serve his purpose, he had to go through what he did to lose his mother at that point in time. And when she left right on time. And this is what Matheno, the mastermind, is teaching him, you know, to overcome, not to fear death, to know that on one hand, we have tasks to complete on the soul plane, just as we do here. And when it's time to go, that's it. And it's, you know, I just wanted to read this because I know that, you know, everything just happened so fast, you know, nobody saw that coming, but everything is right on time. All right. Um, we also know that we have to cherish every moment that we have, you know, just to keep that in mind. The sister Gray L was a teacher. I mean, she was teaching meditation. Um, Pretty much everybody that she came into contact with, you know, she tried to leave a positive impact on us, and she touched a lot of people, you know, in a short amount of time. If anybody has any words or anything they want to share, though, feel free to speak. I'll go ahead and yield the floor.
Islam. I rise and give perfect praise to Allah, honors to the Prophet, honors to all Moors around the world, and honors to an ancestor now, Sheikah's Gray L. I just want to give honors to her because she represented something that was kind of different, but like what we should portray as Moors. And that's what I can say about sis. You know, she was very, very, abrupt, very blunt,
ready to teach, like you said, a teacher. So I just want to give that love out there for her and the rest of her family. Condolences to her family, and uh, praise Allah. We got an elder now watching over us. Islam.
Islam. Islam, and regardless of what we think we're here to do, there's always a greater purpose and a plan to everything. So, um, as it says, when you've completed your task, the cord tying you to the body or tying you to the earth is cut, so that you can go on to sail on smoother seas. So, death is definitely not an enemy. It's nothing to fear. It's actually a welcoming process. So, you know, from our perspective, for most of us, it's a sad experience, but it really shouldn't be. Islam.
Want to add to the honor and memory of Sister Grayel, man. Like she gave me my card, uh, like and it was crazy because I was like getting mad at her, uh, like dang, what's taking so long with the card and stuff like that. But you know, she had to explain that we all move on our own time, and you feel what I'm saying. Also, you feel me? She is speaking to the when we was in the clubhouse on Friday. She was speaking to the like everything has a timetable. You know what I mean? Like the MSTA is a business mindset. It's a business. You know what I mean? It's temple, but it's also a business, and people use a change men, and you know, like Brother Shaw Bay just said, like, she was definitely a teacher, and I'm definitely gonna miss. I'm very that is real abrupt that she just left, man. That is just crazy, man. I was looking forward to making more memories, but like you said, everybody got their time, yo, but it just hit us like all abruptly, especially everybody that knew her and got to smell and sit with her, talk with her, understand her as a person. Um, man, peace and love, man.
Islam. I hear you. So, yeah, definitely. From our perspective, everything seems sudden and just abrupt. But from Allah's perspective, everything is right on time. Doesn't matter how it looks to us. So, we just it helps to keep that in perspective, to know that everything is happening right on time. Islam. All right. Let's go ahead and read from the Quran questionnaire. Um, can we get a volunteer to read the questions, just the rest of the questions, 91 through 101?
Islam.
Uh,
Oh yeah, you want to? Go
I,
ahead, brother.
yeah, I do it. Hold up. That question is 90 to 101.
Islam. Yeah.
Can a man be a Negro, black, colored, or Ethiopian? No. 91. Why? Because man is made in the image and after the likeness of God. Allah. 92. What is the title that Satan? What title does Satan give to himself? God. 93. Will you define the word? Will you define the word white? White means purity. Purity means God. God means the ruler of the land. 94. To whom do we refer at times as being the great God? Allah. 95. Is the devil made in the image and likeness of Allah? No. He is the shadow of the lower self. He is the shadow of our lower selves and will pass away. 96. Who made the devil? Elohim. Who is Elohim? Elohim is the seven creative spirits that created everything that ever was, is, and evermore to be. What is Elohim sometimes called? The seven eyes of Allah. 99. How many days are in a cycle? 7 days. 100. How many days are in a creation? 7 days. According to science, 101. According to science, how many days are in a year? 7 days. Islam. Islamism.
All right, Islamism. Going back to question 90, can a man be Negro, black, colored, or Ethiopian? The answer is no. All right, we remember that Negro, black, colored, and Ethiopian are marks that were put upon us. That's the wording that the prophet used, right? The prophet said, what marks were put upon these people? Islam, Dogon, son. All right, Islam. So we know that the prophet used the word marks, what marks were put upon the people, right? Negro, black, colored, and Ethiopian. And so we know that marks, can somebody tell me, like, why wouldn't you want to be marked? Let's look at the meaning for mark. Mark is a word used with a noun substantive to express a quality of the thing named or something attributed to it, or limit or define it, or to specify or describe a thing as distinct from something else. So if you allow somebody to mark you, they're limiting you, they're defining you. You don't let other people define you and mark you as distinct from someone else. Islam, brother Kobe.
Islam. Let me camel back on that just a little bit. It's kind of like if you look at it when it comes to being marked, look at what cattle were marked, branded. So by giving that name, black, Negro, color, Ethiopian, it's like looking at cattle with the USDA stamp on it. Islam.
Islam on point. All right. Is that brother Jamal? Is that you? You just joined?
Yeah, it's me.
Yes,
I'm tuned in. I was just having a little noise and stuff going on, but I'm tuned in.
Islam. Okay, got you. All right. Okay, so 91. Why can't you be Negro, black, and colored? Because man is made in the image of after the likeness of God, Allah. In the Quran, in chapter 8, verse 10, in our Quran, it says, but in their image, man was made. And he who looks into the face of man looks at the image of Allah who speaks within. All right. So our face is represented, right, by the countenance of our eyes, and that's gonna reveal where you're at, your vibratory rate, your spiritual vibration. In um, chapter 8, verse 15, it says, and he will smile behind your tears, will light your countenance with joy, and fill your hearts with peace. Also in the King James Version of the Bible, in Genesis 1:26, it says, and God said, let us make man in our image and after our likeness. Right? So the prophet is teaching those two aspects of the image of Allah and the likeness of Allah. So one is man's essence, which is unchangeable. All right. And the image is present in us as the spirit. Spirit man is Allah. And then the other is the changing part of man. That's the likeness. What would that be? Because the spirit is unchangeable. That's Allah in man. What do we have? What other aspect of us that comes right before the physical form that can change, that has a personality, an individual personality, the soul, right? So we're made in the image and likeness of Allah. That's the spirit and the soul. Islam. So knowing this, of course, having this knowledge of who you truly are, we can't go by a mark, a name that was created to remove us from that, to keep us away from our divine origin, Islam. And then what title does Satan give to God? 92, right? So you look at Satan, go back to question 64, where we're given the names for the lower self. We know that those names, those 5 names, are 5 characteristics. They each carry characteristics with them. So when you know that the lower self is Lucifer, Satan, devil, dragon, beast, you know, if you're just reading this on your own, you might just look over this, say, oh man, there's nothing to this. But when we're studying together, we know that we have to calm ourselves down and look deeper, because we know the prophet is delivering ancient Egyptian wisdom to us. Is wisdom from the ancients, with, you know, wisdom from Allah. We're being returned to our divine creed, and so we have to look deeper. And then we know that when you get to Satan, that name, and you look at the characteristics of Satan, Satan is the deceiver, right? That's one of the, he's the adversary, he's the deceiver. He invites others to the disobedience of Allah. Okay, and so it's going to clothe itself in the garb of truth to deceive you, because if it's coming at you like they show in the cartoons with a pitchfork and red skin and horns, nobody's going to trust that. So it's got to come to you with the very name and identity of God. Okay, and so pretending to be God, it whispers into the heart of man, and it gets us to perform deeds and to do things that seem like they're not that bad, but they're totally against our divine nature. All right. And so when you understand that, looking at this, you now know what to go against, because who's giving themselves the title of God? And we're not just talking about a people, right? But pretty much anyone that is calling themselves God or putting themselves up there, they're probably overcompensating for something else. All right. So the very next question, though, kind of gives you a clue into that. Will you define the word white? White means purity. Purity means God, and God means ruler of the land. And we know who gave themselves that title, right? We think it's talking about the shade of our skin, because we were like children. We were like babies, the way that we looked at things as a collective. Not just us, just our people, period. And then people as a whole in general. They're thinking it's replying or referring to shade of skin. We know that these are identifying social status. It has nothing to do with that, because just the so-called black people, especially in this country, are all shades. And they've even been like that since before Europeans existed. Why would I say that? Because who do you think Europeans came from? Who do you think created them? So we've had various shades of skin, from the darkest to the lightest, and they call us all black or African American. So it doesn't have anything to do with the skin color. It's a status, right? And they deem themselves the rulers of the land. God, God, they're God on earth. That's what they deem themselves, right? And so obviously, you know, we can't go along with that. That's to our detriment. And delivering this message in 1928, 1929 would have been groundbreaking, because nobody was looking at it like that. And even still to this day, a lot of our people is still a little too much information for them. You might have to give it to them in small steps because they're not ready. All right, but just go back to that.
Islam, I can attest to that, like
Islam.
Receiving the information in bits and pieces just off of I remember back, like when I first started this, they were going in on the Moors, and, you know, they said, you know, what you just said, how you define the word white, and they were basically trying to tie it. They was like, oh, that's a white, if that ain't white supremacy, then I don't know what it is. And everybody started cheering and stuff. And, you know, but without, like you said, without the proper info, if you're going straight to college from elementary school, you're going to miss a few steps, because all you had to do was look up the definition in Black's Law of what white is, and you can see it ain't got nothing to do with the Caucasians or Europeans that are doing what they're doing right now?
Islam. And like what you said, that's powerful because you know, it is easy if we take that approach where we're not really looking at things deeper, this will all just gloss over. We won't even get the meat of it. We won't get the power from it. Right. So obviously this isn't just saying, oh, we hold white people up on this pedestal. But if somebody's looking at it like that, they're not ready anyway. I mean, like that meme that I keep showing with the Egyptian pharaoh, and he's holding the he's holding the rod, and you know, it's showing how he's subduing the lower self. They're not ready for that. It's not because I said it or because you said it. It's because they're just not ready. Everybody's not on this path, right? But, you know, we don't want to skip over any of this because there's jewels in it, all right? And if you don't see the jewels, sometimes it's because we just have to grow more, right? So that we can gain insight into what's really being said, all right? And that's also why things are said like this on that level, so that people who are profane, who are not ready, they won't get it. All right. You have to put in some work to get the power that's in there in the message. And that's the deceiver, though, to name themselves God, literally, to name themselves God, ruler of the land. And he did it so subtly. You know, it was just so subtle. It would just go over your head. We didn't even think about it. We didn't even know it. It took divine insight, divine intervention for us to notice. The prophet of Allah had to come to us to let us know, hey, you know, they named themselves God. He tapped me on the shoulder like, you might want to look at what's going on here, because they pulled the wool over our eyes. All right. And 94, to whom do we refer to at times as being the great God? And the answer is Allah. If we go into the Bible in the King James Version in Psalm 68, verse 4, it says, sing unto God, sing praises to his name, extol him that rideth upon the heavens by his name, Yah, and rejoice before him. Then also King James Version, Isaiah 12:12, it says, 12:2, it says, behold, God is my salvation. I will trust and not be afraid. For the Lord Jehovah is my strength and my song. He is also become my salvation. Also in Revelations 3:13, it says, him that overcometh will I make a pillar in the temple of my God, and he shall go no more out, and I will write upon him the name of my God. Islam. So the prophet is returning our name for Allah to us, our name for the God of the universe, right? And everyone had different names. The Egyptians, Thoth, Greeks, Zeus, the Hebrews called him Jehovah, right? And so Islam is being returned to us. Why? Because we have to come out from under the Christian yoke. Why? Because Christianity is one of the marks that was put upon us, just like Negro, black, and colored. A lot of us didn't go into Christianity willingly. It was something that was forced upon us. We didn't have any choice. If we weren't trying to be Christians, they were trying to make life hard for you, to make an example out of you, because they needed the rest of us to go along with it. And since it took a process to get us into that, we have a process to get out. Islam, brother, I see your hands raised.
Yeah, I was just gonna kind of touch on what you was going on, try to further that point as it pertains to you know, how we you know, they have the Black History Month, and kind of one of the questions that I was kind of posing to people was, when we refer to Black History Month, are we saying African history or American history, or is there a line there at all?
Islam. Yeah, and that's a question that a lot of people wouldn't really be able to answer, you know, because, you know, for the most part, when they say Black history, they're talking about so-called Black Americans. But we've been so confused, and we don't really know where we came from. So we're accepting and open to everything. We're looking, a lot of us looking for something, we're taking on new things like Kwanzaa. Some people think they have to learn Swahili. Like there's so much going on because we have been stripped from our own identity, right? And Black history, I mean, I respect, I honor, the people, the inventors, and all the different people that have contributed to making this country what it is, and that people that don't really get talked about any other time of the year. I understand it. I respect that. But at the end of the day, Black history starts with slavery. That's where they start us off at. It doesn't go before that. They act like we didn't exist before that. Because the mainstream story is that we were all brought over here on ships, in the late 1600s, 1700s. So that's where they start us at. And in reality, we predate that. And so, in all honesty, the true Black history, Moorish history, is what we have, what we're teaching. We know that we have history here and in other places in the world, if we want to go international with it. But we know that we're here. We know that all these pyramids and everything that's here, that we built that. So our story doesn't start with that. And so we have to get it together so that we can teach it and teach it how it should be taught. Because obviously the one who named himself God is not going to do that for us. Right? What does it say? What does it say that is the devil? Hey, hold up. Will you define the word white? White means purity. Purity means God. God means ruler of the land. And then what title does Satan give himself? God. So they gave themselves that title. They're not going to tell us anything. They're going to keep teaching it how it's supposed to be taught. Some of them even have a problem with Black History Month because they don't even understand. They don't even know enough about history to know the true place that we have in America and why they have to set aside a month for us. This is our land, right? And they regulating us to Black History Month and starting us off as slavery when we predate everything over here, right? So it's not going to get corrected until we do it. And I believe until specifically us, the Moors, nobody else is going to do it. Right, Islam. And then 95, is the devil made in the image and likeness of Allah? No, he is in the shadow of our lower selves and will pass away. And with the previous question too, to whom do we refer to at times as being the great God Allah? Great God and Allah. Even just saying that to some of our people is scary because they still indoctrinated, right? Just saying that, Allah, you're a Muslim. That's scary to people. All right, because even though they won't admit it, in the back of their mind, they don't want to step outside of the mainstream. They're scared of some type of punishment, right? They're really scared. People are really fearful. That's one reason why they want to go along. And we've been going along for a long time, and it didn't save anyone. It didn't stop them from killing our people. It didn't stop any of that. So I don't know why people are scared, but they are. And is the devil made in the image and likeness of Allah? No. We know that the devil, that's our evil thoughts, evil intentions. And it's the result of the lower self. We know the lower self is temporary. It will pass away. And even if you want to, since we were talking about it on an external level, if you wanted to look at that as an external adversary, that will pass away too. Any conditions, anything outside of ourselves, even other people that we think are against us, all of that will pass away. It's just a shadow of our lower selves. Okay? So everything is just here to strengthen you. Even the battle, the internal battle with the lower self, subduing your lower self, it's here to strengthen you. The overcoming of the lower self is to show the might of Allah in you. Islam, brother. Brother Jackson Bay, you have your hand up?
Islam, I was just about to add to what you were saying as far as how I looked at just to add to you said it's the lower self, the devil is the shadow, and now it just brought to me the line from chapter 3 when it says the David of the light is purity that slays the Goliath and seeks the savior of love on the throne. And that right there, it when we speaking about this line, that's one of the verses that I contribute to this. Like just having a purity of mind to see love, and like we read in earlier in chapter 4, only the pure in heart will be able to recognize the king, and the king of kings is Allah. So I just wanted to add that piece.
Islam, gratitude. Gratitude. All right, 96. Who made the devil? Elohim. We know that the Elohim, the 7 creative spirits of Allah, they're over creation, over the universe and the different forms of creation. You know that in chapter 1 of our Quran, the Prophet was teaching us that the carnal nature, which is the lower self, the devil, sprang forth from the flesh of man. And then we know that the creator who created the flesh of man in that same chapter 1 says, I creative fate gave to spirit a soul and then a body of flesh. So the Elohim created the flesh of man and all things material, right? They're over creation. And so eventually the body of man it's comprised of billions and trillions of cells and all of these things that took on a consciousness. It gave rise to the lower self, and it had a purpose to assist us in living in the physical world. But eventually we forgot that we even had a higher nature. And that's why things are out of balance now. The lower self is a servant. It's supposed to be serving us to assist. And instead it's running the show. And that's where the battle comes from, right? That's why we're in this situation. So 97, who is Elohim? Elohim is the 7 creative spirits that created everything that was, is, and evermore to be. They're over all of creation, right? Allah, trying to think of a word for, like, multiplying itself. Allah multiplied its consciousness, or into 7 creative spirits that actually are alive, that are over the material universe. And that's why this is a universal concept. That's why we see that 7 creative spirits thing throughout all different cultures throughout time. That was in the Egyptian religion, their pantheon of gods. You see it in voodoo with the 7 main orishas. You see it all over the place. It's a universal concept. Probably even on other planets, they have this hierarchy, these 7 creative forces that are actually alive and are over the creation. Islam. Moving on, 98. What is Elohim sometimes called? The 7 eyes of Allah. So once again, like, the face is represented by the 7 ethers of the 7 spirits of the triune Allah. The eye is a spiritual symbol for collecting information, collecting an experience. We all have an eye, an inner eye inside of us, a pineal gland, which is like collecting the experience for Allah. That's could even be spirit man. I remember one time in meditation, I asked my higher self to show itself to me, and it just showed me a black dot. Right? That's just my experience, though. Don't put that on a prophet or anything. But just saying that everybody has an eye, inside of them that's collecting an experience for Allah. and we have the 7 eyes of Allah, the 7 Elohim, because that's the charge. That's how it differentiated, Allah differentiated itself 7 times and put these each over a portion of creation. Islam. And it's not saying that like Allah needs help or anything maintaining the universe, just that it's above the need to do this. And so they have these 7 different districts, or these 7 spirits that are over all these different aspects of creation. And different religions or different cultures that have the 7 watchful spirits, the 7 gatekeepers. And then just with these last 3 questions, you see the 7, how many days are in the circle, how many days are in creation, 7, how many days in the year, 7. This number just keeps going on, repeating itself. There's 7 hermetic laws of life. The 7 hermetic laws are supposed to be universal laws. Some claim that the information for the 7 hermetic laws are coming from ancient Egypt, coming from Thoth, the Atlantean, right? There's a lot to that. But it's just basically this principle of 7 it's a universal concept. All right. There's also 7 stages of human life. And the age of 7 is supposed to be the age of reason. 14 is what? Puberty. And then what happens at 21? It's supposed to be when you're mature. Okay? And so there's a reason for this. Islam. Unless anybody else has anything to say, I yield the floor. All right. Okay. I want to announce without further ado, we're going to go into the closing of the meeting. Before we read the additional laws, is there anyone on the call who's new, who's ready to join and proclaim your nationality? Right. If you're not ready now, you can always send an email to us, mission30@mstfa.net. Okay. Let's see. Hang on one second. All right. Additional laws for the Moorish Americans by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Act 1, Grand Sheiks and governors and heads of all temples, all businesses. Each said temple must be approved by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Before acting upon by any member, let it be finance, property, or any line of life that will cause the member to sacrifice, finance, etc., that will cause the support of any group of members. Any former officer that violates these laws is subject to be removed from his office under a heavy restriction, etc., by the Prophet or the Grand Sheikh. Islam in the chat, that's the email. That's correct. Mission30@mstfa.net. Act 2, all members are to attend their meetings and their public meetings, their ADEP meetings and their public meetings promptly. If a member is found standing around on their meeting period, shall be fined 50 cents on the first case, and on the second will be fined $1, which will go on your emergency fund. If member is working, his monthly dues must be paid, and if he has money in the bank, he must subscribe for as much as he is able to the Moorish Uplifting Fund, because it takes finance to uplift the nation. Act 3, it is the lawful and divine duty of every good member, if he is able in finance, to aid me in saving the nation, and if he does not, he is an enemy to the cause of uplifting his own people, and justice must catch you. Let it be he or she, according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, as I have the power invested in my hands, and I have to enforce the law in order to save the nation. Act 4, all members, while up making a public speech, must not use any assertion against the American flag or speak radical against the church or any member of any organized group, because we are to teach love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Act 5, all members must promptly attend their meetings and send their children to Sunday school, and the teacher must conform himself to the questionnaire and let every member exercise his 5 senses who is able to do so, because out from your Sunday school comes the guiders of the nation. Act 6, with us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are a part and a parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, Black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by this government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained noble Drew Ali to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All members must promptly attend their meetings and become a part and parcel of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become a part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, through the guidance of his father, God Allah, Islam. Right, Brother Seymour Bay, would you please read the divine warning?
Islam, Sheikh.
Islam.
First, I rise and give praise to the Most High, Father God Allah. I give honors to our holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, and to the forerunner to the prophet, the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Honors to the members of the Grand Body Moorish Science Temple of America, and to all you faithfuls on the call. A divine warning by the prophet for the nations. The citizens of all free national governments, according to the national constitution, are all of one family bearing one free national name. Those who fail to recognize the free national name of their constitutional government are classed as undesirables and are subject to all inferior names and abuses and mistreatments that the citizens care to bestow upon them. And it is a sin for any group of people to violate the national constitutional laws of a free national government and cling to the names and principles that delude to slavery. I, the prophet, was prepared by the great God Allah to warn my people to repent from their sinful ways and go back to that state of mind, to their forefathers' divine and national principles, that they will be law-abiders and receive their divine rights as citizen, according to the free national constitution that was prepared for all free national beings. They are to claim their own free national name and religion. There is but one issue for them to be recognized by this government and of the earth, and it comes only through the connection of the Moorish divine national movement, which is incorporated in this government and recognized by all other nations of the world. And through it, they and their children can receive their divine rights unmolested by other citizens, that they can cast a free national ballot at the polls under the free national constitution of the state's government and not under a granted privilege, as has been the existing condition for many generations. You who doubt whether I, the prophet, and my principles are right for the redemption of my people, go to those that know law in the city hall and among the officials in your government and ask them under an intelligent tone, and they will be glad to render you a favorable reply, for they're glad to see me bring you out of darkness into light. Money doesn't make the man. It is the free national standards and power that make the man and a nation. The wealth of all national governments, gold and silver and commerce, belong to the citizens alone, and without your national citizenship by name and principles, you have no true wealth. And I'm hereby calling on all true citizens to stand for national free government and the enforcement of the Constitution to help me in my great missionary work, because I need all support from all true American citizens of the United States of America. Help me to save my people who have fallen from the constitutional laws of the government. I'm depending on your support to get them back to the constitutional fold again, that they will learn to love instead of hate and will live according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, supporting our free national constitution of the United States of America. I love my people, and I desire their unity and mine back to their own free national and divine standard, because day by day they have been violating the national and constitutional laws of their government by claiming names and principles that are unconstitutional. If Italians, Greeks, English, Chinese, Japanese, Turks, and Arabians are forced to proclaim their free national name and religion before the constitutional government of the United States of America, it is no more than right that the law should be enforced upon all other American citizens alike. In all other governments, when a man is born and raised there and asks for his national descent name, and if he fails to give it, he is misused, imprisoned, or exiled. Any group of people that fail to answer up to the constitutional standards of law by name and principles, because to be a citizen of any government, you must claim your national descent name, because they place their trust upon issue and names formed by their forefathers. The word Negro deludes in the Latin language to the word nigger, the same as the word colored deludes to anything that is painted, varnished, and dyed. And every nation must bear a national descent name of their forefathers, because honoring thy fathers and thy mothers, your days will be lengthened upon this earth. These names have never been recognized by any true American citizen of this day. Through your free national name, you are known and recognized by all nations of the earth that are recognized by said national government in which they live. The 14th and 15th Amendments brought the North and the South in unity, placing the Southerners, who were at that time without power, with the constitutional body of power. And at that time, 1865, the free national constitutional law that was enforced since 1774 declared all men equal and free. And if all men are declared by the free national constitution to be equal, since that constitution has never been changed, there is no need for the application of the 14th and 15th Amendments for the salvation of our people and citizens. So there isn't but one supreme issue for my people to use to redeem that which was lost, and that is through the above statements. And then the lion and the lamb can lie down together in yonder hills, and neither will be harmed, because love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice will be reigning in this land. In those days, the United States will be one of the greatest civilized and prosperous governments of the world. But if the above principles are not carried out by the citizens and my people in this government, the worst is yet to come, because the great God of the universe is not pleased with the works that are being performed in North America by my people, and this great sin must be removed from the land to save it from enormous earthquakes, diseases, etc. And I, the prophet, do herein believe that this administration of the government, being more wisely prepared by more genius citizens that believe in their free national constitution and laws, and through the help of such classes of citizens, I, the prophet, truly believe that my people will find the true and divine way of their forefathers and learn to stop serving carnal customs and merely ideas of man that have never done them any good, but have always harmed them. So I, the prophet, am hereby calling aloud with a divine plea to all true American citizens to help me to remove this great sin which has been committed and is being practiced by my people in the United States of America, because they know it is not the true and divine way. And without understanding, they have fallen from the true light into utter darkness of sin. And there's not a nation on earth today that will recognize them socially, religiously, politically, or economically, etc., in their present condition of their endeavorment, which they themselves try to force upon a civilized world. They will not refrain from their sinful ways of action, and their deeds have brought Jim Crowism, segregation, and everything that brings harm to human beings on earth. And they have fought the Southerner for all these great misuses. But I have traveled in the South and I have examined the conditions there, and it is the works of my people continuously practicing the things which bring dishonor, disgrace, and disrespect to any nation that lives the life. And I'm hereby calling on all true American citizens for moral support and finance to help me in my great missionary work to bring my people out of darkness into marvelous light. From the prophet, Islam, Islam, Islamism.
Islamism, gratitude, brother. Appreciate you. In closing, just want to reiterate that. Remember, death is no enemy to man. It is a friend who, when the work of life is done, just cuts the cord that binds the human boat to earth, that it may sail on smoother seas. So this is actually a good thing, and we don't look at it like that. But from a greater perspective, it's a good thing. All right, and I know it's hard for us to wrap our heads around that, but it's true. This is divine truth. What does it say at the top of all of the pages in the Quran? right? These are holy instructions. These are divine instructions. We're going to go ahead and close out. All meetings are to be opened and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Please rise and face the east for the closing prayer. You do not need to repeat after me. Allah, bind our hearts and minds back to our ancient forefathers, divine creative principles. We ask this in thy holy name in the 7 Elohim. Amen. Islam, Islam, Islamism. This meeting is now adjourned.
Happy holy.
Peace.
Oh, excuse me. This ain't happy holy day. Excuse me.
Yeah, I was
Peace.
doing that too. Peace and love. Peace and love.
Peace.
Happy holy
Peace and
Peace
love.
and love.
Happy Holy Day. Peace and love, y'all.
Peace and love, family.
Peace and love.